Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Reanimated. This is a podcast. Upon this podcast, we sometimes talk about zombies. In this case, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. My name is Stuart. Joining me, as always, is AJ Conrad. Hello.
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 Hello, hello.
AJ Conrad, how are you today? What is new with you?
I am smashing. Not a lot of new things. Living the dream in this semi-tropical subclimate that we apparently are living in. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Seeing a lot of news about potential storms running into each other. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But I think, the weather nerds are really getting excited about it. Have you seen anything about this?
No.
Yeah, like there's supposedly these crazy things happening that might cause issues. But again, I think it's too soon to jump to these conclusions. But in the meantime, before we suffer the whatever effect that they're talking about, let's talk about some zombie stuff. We got a lot, actually, quite a few little news items, so I'm excited about that.
It's the season.
So this like I hope ends our drought of zombie information that we have been experiencing. But yeah, just quite a few little things coming out, and I'm pretty excited about a couple of them.
The first up is a film out of Indonesia called The Elixir, with which on Bloody Disgusting this week has some photos, some stills from the film. Makeup is looking on point, throwing a little bit of shade at alternative medicine.
Yes, that's apparently the cause of this particular zombie outbreak. So, anybody who's into homeopathic or folk cures, this is not going to be for you, I would think. But anyway, and it also somebody in this film, I think that one of the producers possibly was also connected to Siam, which we thought was pretty good. So,
These are both Netflix films. I think that's the connection.
is it?
That well, yeah, but the guy who's got this quote is a senior director of content for Southeast
There
Asia
we go.
on
Okay.
Netflix. And he's like, with these two films, we wanted to take the thrill of zombies and fuse it with local storytelling, culture, and authenticity. And he used an Oxford comma, and I take away points for those. So sorry
You don't
about that.
like the Oxford comma?
It's my lifelong goal to destroy the Oxford comma.
Ooh, we are on opposing sides of this.
I will temper my words by saying occasionally they are useful when they clarify a list, but most of the time it's extra, and nobody likes extra, H.A. Conrad.
I love extra.
You don't. That is not true.
It is not. That is false.
That was a
But
false statement.
but I do love the Oxford comma because it
Okay.
does clarify, and I find that sometimes when it doesn't, specifically with headlines, it really makes me unreasonably upset. So anyway, um, but I know that I have this opposition with several of my favorite people, so I'll let it stand, Stuart, because we have
Well,
such a long-standing friendship.
you. Next up in the news was a very interesting and very shady article, an interview with Frank Delane, who was Nick Clark
Yeah.
on the Fear the Walking Dead. He new to me and kind of like a pretty bad it casts a pretty bad light on Fear the Walking Dead. And even
Yeah.
before Shambliss and Goldberg, I mean he quit halfway through their first season. So Frank Delane is like, after Fear the Walking Dead, I basically just moved to Berlin for 4 years and didn't do anything. And now he's basically promoting his first film since since he left that show called Urchin.
Hmm.
And he just talks about how, like, behind the scenes on the production side, the AMC folks, I think, just gave him a really hard time, especially when it came to promoting the show, that he hated it. So it's not necessarily like that he hated Eric Kane, not Eric Kane. Dave Erickson was the showrunner before Shambliss and Goldberg. So it's not necessarily that he hated the storytelling, even though some of that stuff for him wasn't great either.
Yeah, I think he also, I mean, he implied that some of it was to do with the character because the character is a junkie, and so he was trying to basically do like some kind of justice to that, probably maybe some method acting. That's what he was implying. But was apparently getting a lot of feedback just about how he was doing that. So I could imagine that it's pretty uncomfortable playing a character like Nick. Um, and, somebody who's dealing with addiction and things like that. I think that the and also it sounds like the fame during all of this, like it was a pretty instantaneous thing. So, and I think he was basically being handled a lot just in how to manage some of these things. And I do think that that's an adjustment for a lot of young actors. So I actually think it was probably a good idea for him to take a hiatus just to figure things out. So,
Yeah. I
so
recently saw an article or a headline. I think it was Emma Watson, who just basically hasn't acted in a
yeah,
while, or at least not in movies. And she was talking about how much she hated doing the press junkets
yeah.
after, and she's like, I'm really happy not to be selling anything recently. I'm like, that's a really privileged take since you don't need to work for now because of all the money you made
Well,
off of that. But
I do think that people don't realize that all of that stuff is like contractually like tied up, and that
yeah.
the actors have
I
to do
mean,
all of that. If
how
it's
many of those
not,
interviews have you seen that the actors just look so bored and like disinterested in what they're having
well,
to?
and I think that's why we have so many fabulous Killian Murphy. Uh, like takes just his he hates them. You can tell that he does. And so, but they're required to do them, and that's part of the deal. But I can get if your craft is and what you love to do is being in those films and acting, that's not the same thing. And
No.
so, and then also, I think you have to probably do so much more of it now because there is so much noise out there. And so it isn't even akin to the level that you used to have to do, like even a decade ago, I would say. So, I think it's just never ending. And, I can understand how that could be absolutely draining. And we're also talking about people that are creative and sensitive. There's a reason why they're so good at what they do. And so I can totally understand that take. But I also agree, like, she's absolutely privileged. Actors generally don't have that choice. So, but it looks like he's got a level head at this point, and I'm glad to be seeing him in other things. I think he's a very good actor, and so anyway,
Yeah.
I'm certainly going to check out some of his stuff.
He talks about in this piece, in this interview in The Guardian, how he kind of maybe missed some of the window of his hot streak, which you see some actors, they're like, they show up, they're in one big thing, and then it's like the Chris Pratt effect or whatever, and
Yeah.
suddenly they're in all these films, and it just kind of the momentum builds on itself. And to an extent, Frank Delane might have missed that window, but at least he's still able to get a movie, and his movie's called Urchin that's coming out. And apparently, he plays a homeless guy in it, and so it almost doesn't feel too far removed from Nick necessarily on the surface.
He was also in something called Baby Girl. I have not seen that, but that also apparently got some pretty good reviews.
Yeah,
Um, so anyway, I don't know that he's necessarily missed the window, but maybe it's a different window
yeah,
that he's found. And maybe that's a positive thing because I do think sometimes when you see young actors dealing with this level of just having a hard time adjusting, that it often does not end well. And so the fact that he's now out there again and doing these things, I think is a very positive sign. So, um,
also in the news,
mm.
the Deadline reports that Jimmy Simpson is becoming a series regular on Dead City. We are singularly unqualified to talk about this show since we haven't even watched the second season, and this is news about season three. However, we can say that Jimmy Simpson has done some interesting roles in the past on Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he plays a very disturbing, creepy guy, and on Westworld, where he was like, well, no spoilers, because honestly, that first season is pretty good.
It is so good, and I also, as I am wont to do, I understood what the twist was, but I think he's an incredible actor, and I also have to shout out his guest appearances in the show Psych, and he was really great in that. And actually quite prolific, and he's been in a ton of things, and he always plays these like very interesting characters. So I am more inclined to watch the show now, and I know we would eventually get to it, but I'm pretty excited to see it, and I think just I'm excited to see him in it more so than other people. So
That'll be exciting.
I don't know, like anytime I see that he's sort of being billed or headlining or even doing like a guest spot, I'm pretty excited about it. He's quite the talented actor, and I have always like I don't know if he's like it's always interesting when you see people who end up on stage or whatever, and I think he would be probably a pretty interesting stage actor as well. So, so I'm a little bit more game than I probably was. Maybe I'll stop dragging my feet about this. So,
Yeah, well, we've got as soon as October ends, I know you're all optimistic that we've got all this zombie news coming out, but I for one think that we will be back in the doldrums. And so it'll be good to have a
just
season of that show.
accept it while we can.
Yeah,
Accept it while we can.
ride the wave. Next up is a surprising announcement for a Finnish zombie, well, a
Yes.
zomcom.
Yes. So the idea behind this, and it's called Pigtown, is that there's some animal activist and apparently trying to make a statement, give some feed to some pigs that zombifies them. There's a lot of comparison or like flavors of haha Walking Dead, not Walking Dead, Shaun of the Dead, and some other things. So I'm gonna take a Finnish zombie show and I'm gonna watch it. This seems pretty good.
Yeah, I we'll see, right? Like I want to see a trailer.
It's gonna be fun, Stuart.
Uh-huh.
You seem more skeptical. I'm not skeptical, but I just think it's funny. So it's a rural zombie comedy. So I don't know. I think it's gonna be fun. And I think it will have a Finnish sense of humor.
What is that?
I don't know.
Whatever it is, it'll be very Finnish.
Yes.
And that brings us to the end of our news, and so we can talk now about El Sacrificio, the sacrifice, the third episode of Daryl Dixon, season 3, episode 3. Daniel Percival again directing, same writing team, Jason Richmond and David Zabel. David Zabel being the showrunner.
Hmm.
And
I
we
don't know
are,
about I don't know about you, but this episode felt like a slog to get through for me anyway.
it's a little
Um,
slow. It's got some slow, but it also has some very enjoyable moments too.
yeah, I guess so.
Nobody died, did they?
No, nobody did. I guess it has a few enjoyable moments, but this was like, I was trying to get through this all week and I finally did, but it wasn't one that I was like, oh, I've got to watch to the end of it. So, but it set up, I suspect, quite a few things. And there was a few moments that I really did like about it. So, we're in the town. Carol's doing her Carol thing. Daryl's doing his Daryl thing.
Yeah, that's the A plot and B plot is Daryl and Roberto go off on a mission, and Carol and Antonio kind of have their own mission of friendship.
Yep.
Or is it something more?
I don't know. I think she's trying to play that card for sure.
I don't feel like she's playing a card. I feel like she was like, I used to know when to hold my tongue or to keep my mouth shut. This is part of that whole filter loss thing we talked about last time.
Yeah.
I think her head wound might be messing with her devious Carol nature.
Maybe it is, or maybe she's just playing because she's Carol. Um, but one of the funniest things in this episode is like Daryl telling Carol, like, that's your mission about the solar panel. Um,
Continuing this trend of him being quite mercenary.
yeah,
It's like we're gonna steal all this shit.
yeah,
And Antonio, I'm glad that they had Antonio be quite aware of this
yep.
later in the episode. That was nice.
That was good. And also, Carol's like, kind of like, but what about these people? And Daryl just gives her this look, and it's just like, no.
Well,
He's like,
yeah, he's
no,
like,
we gotta
who
get
the
out of
hell is Alba?
here. Yes.
He doesn't, I mean, I think he actually does know it. He's just being a jerk on purpose, but he's trying to make a point of it's us, not it's just you and me, Carol. We're trying to get home. Remember the hot dogs. Uh, don't keep talking about like we're saving these people from themselves. We're not going to do that. So Daryl's not feeling it. And yet, he's out there protecting Roberto later on in the episode. So he talks one way. But on yeah, he's a bit conflicted. I think he doesn't want to get mixed up in another battle that doesn't feel like he should have any skin in the game, which is understandable. There's also some great set dressing here. This meeting between Alcazar guy Guillermo and Fede, who, Guillermo marches up to Fede's house the day after the party and is like, some of my guys were killed at the river, and then more of my guys disappeared last night during the party. And Fede's like, enjoy one of my fine cognacs.
Yeah, that they don't like. Uh-huh.
Guillermo, at the end of their conversation, has a sip of it and goes, "This is terrible," and then leaves. And Fede picks it up and has a sip, and he's like, this is a great acting on his face here. He's like, "I like this cognac. What is he talking about?" Anyway, I really enjoyed that little moment. But so he's feeling the pressure. Guillermo, it's an interesting use of leverage here because he's just like, I don't feel like this town is worthy of my my beneficence. And Fede's kind of like pleading with him, "Hey, no, we're really happy to be a part of this."
Right.
Guillermo's like, "Well, there's other towns with other girls." It's such a creepy line to have to say. How does he feel like he's a good guy?
Yeah. And again, I would like to know a little bit more about how all this works.
Oh
And
yeah,
I think they're deliberately being
sure.
whatever, and because there's going to be some big reveal about it, maybe, but it would be really nice to know how all this works. What exactly are they providing that makes it can't be just paprika?
Hmm.
It just has to be other stuff. Like, is it that is it like the sort of traditional mafia thing where they're providing protection against other factions, like the kind of, really out there culty types of survivor groups, like similar to, the weird antler people that we saw, who I suspect are going to turn out to be maybe better. I don't know, maybe worse, who knows? But I usually feel like when they try to set up groups of people as being the big bad and then they turn out not to be because other people are the bigger, badder people. I don't
Did you
know.
see the coming attractions for the
I
next
did,
episode?
and that's what I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe that's not the case. Who knows?
Who knows? But what one thing is for sure based on those is that they also speak English
Right.
because where is Daryl? Where have they ended
I
up
know.
in this part of extremely rural Spain where
Where
everybody's like
everybody speaks.
English or no problem, man. Yeah, I got this.
Yeah. Interestingly, in both Spain and France, this is not an issue.
No.
Um, but anyway, they're, you know, I do like, I feel like I like the mission sort of that Daryl goes on, and I do like the moments that some of the moments that Carol has. I especially like when she's caught out stealing and that she hasn't pulled anything over. And again, why would she have? Because it's pretty like anybody who has that kind of store of things is going to have a pretty tight uh checklist, a tight inventory on it because it's so little, right? But so I do like her interactions and you know some of the things that happen between her and oh gosh,
Antonio. Yeah,
Antonio.
I liked it when he pumped the brakes on her too, like
Yeah.
halfway through the episode where he's patching up her wound again, and then they're sharing a little bit of back and forth because he has these photos of his wife everywhere, and he talks a little bit about how she died before, I think, the zombie apocalypse, perhaps. But Roberto's not really that old. Maybe he's 20 though, so maybe he was a little kid when everything kicked off.
Hmm.
And then she's like, "How did you injure yourself?" Because he does have this facial scar, like burn scar. And he's like, "I think we know each other well enough." And
Yep.
he just walks away. I was like, "Wow,
He shut her down. It
shut
was
her down."
Nope.
Yeah, but he is also complimenting her for her bravery and speaking truth to power at the party, even though she's kind of regretting it, or at least it says that she is. It's I think they have a lot of interesting interactions in this episode, and they're definitely sitting very close together. And yeah, maybe he'll be the new Ezekiel.
I don't know, but I'm a little worried that they're setting, like it feels like they're setting him up to die because he's too likable. I'm
Everybody
like,
is getting set up to die for sure.
yeah, but
Roberto might have bought himself a reprieve from an early death now. Justina, not sure. She might die off screen. Not sure.
um, I do also like that Jerry gets a little shout out from Carol in this during the movie
Yeah.
watching. I thought that was very sweet.
Yeah.
That made me happy. And then,
What's funny is as Roberto and Daryl are leaving town to go try and fix the boat, they walk past the zombie cage. Daryl's looking over at it. There's all these Alcazar soldiers wandering around the city at this point before they've left town, which happens at the end of the episode. And they're looking for their soldiers. And there's Manuel in the cage, looking quite recognizable as a freshly turned zombie.
mhm.
And I guess the others are probably in there too, unless they were already dead and
Right, and okay,
had been eaten or something.
just saying, like if you're missing people, wouldn't that be the first place you're gonna go
It's a
instead?
pretty obvious place to go look. Yeah.
Right. But they didn't, I guess, or maybe they did, or they know. I don't know.
They don't seem to have figured it out
No.
by the end of the episode. They're just still mad that they're missing and are blaming Fede and the town of Solas del Mar. Uh, and so Daryl and Roberto have this kind of fun adventure, meeting new characters. The first place that they go is to this lady's lighthouse. Oh, I forget her name, but the
The
captain.
captain, whatever her name is,
I have in my notes that she is a spicy older lady
she is
who
spicy.
lives with two younger lovers and doesn't have a high opinion of Americans because she used to run cruise liners and said that they were always the rudest passengers. I'm just like, dunking on the US. That's what I'm here for.
Yep. Um,
Daryl has nothing to say to that. Wisely keeps his mouth shut.
I will
Well,
say I do like just the general realism that she injects into this because she's just like, yeah, you ran your boat right up onto the shore. Most people don't do that. Also, and then when she goes and looks at it, and she's like, yeah, you're totally not like this is not going anywhere. The rudder's done. Like the realistic, and then the other part that I do think, and I really like how she does this. She's like, you think you're gonna basically go to America? That is insane. In this
but
boat,
then she follows that up with because Roberto is like, hey, I have demands too.
right?
And he's like, you have to take me and Justina with you, or Justina, as they call her. And Daryl's like, no. And then Captain Lady is like, you are gonna take them, and
Yeah,
otherwise, I'm not gonna lend you my car. So she kind of does
and
this
backtrack a little bit.
surprising twist there, where she's like first saying, "There's no way you're gonna get to the States," and then, no, you better take these kids with you when you go.
Well, I
But
have to say, I'm not sure why Daryl balks at taking them because
they
we
were
all
all
know
about taking Julian back to the
how.
Commonwealth.
But also, like, we know how it always ends up. I mean, I think Roberto should be pretty scared about their track record in taking people, but um
Again, Ash and Laurent, in theory, made it out. Also, there was a bit of a hat tip to Laurent in this episode,
there was.
which was nice.
Um, but I do look, I like their little side quest there to get the rudder. I the one thing again, like I don't it just seems weird that they're playing this thing with the underwater zombies and the noise and things like that. Because if that's the case, then there's going to be a lot more than just that. And it just feels a little, there's not that many that come out of the woodwork, weirdly, given the noise that they're making. And
It was like
I
a
don't,
dozen, and
yeah,
Daryl kills every single one of them.
he
Roberto
does.
doesn't
He
even do
kills them
anything.
with a gun that makes more noise, that brings more,
And
like,
then there's an anchor. He switches back and forth. I like the anchor. I mean, it was
I
very
do like the
reminiscent of his Morning Star,
Green Star, yeah.
but that was cool.
Yeah. So,
And I like the barnacle zombies. I thought that was a pretty cool effect. And if you watch the after show, those poor zombie extras are down underwater with their scuba tanks and then like launching up out of the surf in all their latex or God knows what they're. I mean, what a terrifying existence to be a zombie extra in the rough seas of northern Spain. That's all.
Yeah. I would like to see more of the captain, though. I think that that's more interesting and
Oh,
what
she's
that,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's pretty good.
And they
Uh,
do owe her 5 kilograms of gunpowder as well as the jar of olives that they gave her. Uh,
you better hope she doesn't ask for hot dogs.
no, no self-respecting Spaniard would ask for a can of hot dogs that's probably expired.
Oh,
When Antonio's making all this like homemade sausage back in Solas del Mar anyway.
I know. Um, and then we've got the other part of this episode is with Justina, and as we rightly and thoughtfully expected, the lottery had been fixed in her favor, and
How do you feel like that is really translated? Granted, she finds a hidden secret drawer with all of the collars that have her name on them, all 6 of the lotteries that she's been exempted from. There's no actual proof. I mean, maybe her uncle really just likes little pig collars with the word Justina on them. There's nothing necessarily to suggest that there was. I mean, we know that there's a fix in for whatever reason. The odds of her winning or not getting picked every time is astronomical.
yeah.
Even
I mean,
Antonio
I
says
think
it.
I think everybody knows it, and I think she's suspected it for a while, and this just in some way confirmed it for her
I don't see
because
how, but yeah.
I don't
Okay.
see how, but I think that's the implication. And supposedly she then goes and volunteers in Alba's place and she's strongly signaling this. But did she? That's my question. It's like maybe she did, but maybe it's just that she figured out something and then, you know, the Alcazar people are really upset about their missing people. So her uncle was like, all right, well, this is fine because this will maybe get them off our backs because they'll see that we're serious or something like that.
But
Um,
so what is it that Carol said to her in their little tete-a-tete that convinced her that this was the course of action? Because it is Carol that does this.
yes, yes.
Do you remember what exactly she said to her? She's
I
like,
don't
it's not fair. And then I think she said something else and Justina had then like a thoughtful look on her face and then went and volunteered as tribute almost right away.
I think Carol definitely said to swap places, right? Something?
I have to do something, says Justina. I can't just let it happen. I can't. So Carol says, it's so frustrating, I know, feeling so helpless and angry, so much so that you start to feel like it's your own fault. Like if you could do something different, or if
Mm.
you could switch places, you could fix it. And she does say that,
Yeah,
but
that's what
sometimes you can't. Oh, yeah, she's got that light bulb going off in her eyes. Oh, Carol, you done you done did it. That head wound, I
yeah.
swear. Okay. Well, so Daryl and Roberto get a new rudder, although it looks pretty bad too. But that's the magic you know, MacGuffin to fix the boat. They feel like a little buddy team by the end of this adventure that they're on. They drop off a Rubik's Cube at the statue on the Camino de Santiago, which is like a shout out to a real thing also. I don't know how close it gets to the coast. I thought it was in the mountains, but um I've never been there, so it's a long trail too. And then they're heading back to the captain's house or back to town. Where are they going by the end of this episode? We don't really see them.
No. I'm not sure. I think
There
they
there are some interesting conversations about New Jersey, and because that's Roberto is obsessed with Jersey. And then Daryl, by the end of the episode, is asking him if he's ever heard of Ohio. It's like Jersey, but it's flat and has corn. Which I enjoyed this characterization of Ohio. And he says, I think you two are going to like it in America, which is when we know that, of course, Justina is not going to be going because she has just been taken out of town. And she is in the car with Elena, and Elena and Luz had um, enjoyed some private times together.
yes, they did.
And Luz is very upset that she's leaving and that she found like a wound, a healed scar on Elena's back and was like, did he do this? And she's like, no, I fell off my horse.
which we know is not true. And
So
I think gives a little bit of um um like an idea that whatever is happening to these women when they are taken is not pleasant. So could be trafficking, could be worse. And she's basically the pawn that's like, and maybe volunteered for it because um, she wanted to come back to the town. But it does not seem like they are living a great life wherever they're going, wherever the folks from the Alcazar are taking them.
she's
So,
done a pretty good job up until this point of pretending everything's hunky dory.
right.
Right? She gave a quite impassioned speech about how great it is to Carol at dinner last night. But yeah, that little interaction is enough, I'm sure, to convince Luz to go with Daryl and Roberto or whoever on a mission to rescue Justina, right? Like that's gonna happen. That's the next thing. I still think Gustavo's gonna die just because he was named. He hasn't even been in either of the last two episodes, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
The door guy.
Nope.
Uh, Also, yeah, I mean, from the look ahead, we can tell that the other faction is going to be returning or be introduced in a more meaningful way other than just carrying torches on the beach and being creepy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's going okay, right? Like, I like the stuff that they're doing with Carol. I like that they've slowed her down and made her a little more uh relatable. When she's just kicking ass and lying to everybody around her like she did in season two. It's fun, but it also is a little hard to relate to. And I feel like her flailing a little bit in Spain feels feels nice.
Yeah, and I do like it's interesting though with Carol because every time she kind of lets her guard down a little bit. I mean, we saw with Ezekiel, it just did not end up going well eventually. So I do think she's one of those characters where they give you a little bit of a ray of light and then it will be snuffed out, which is why I think he's maybe gonna die. But maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like he's gonna sacrifice himself in some way, probably for Roberto, maybe for her.
Yeah.
But and he's already made sacrifices, I suspect, which is what's going on with his face.
Hmm.
Mm. So I think there's going to be a little bit more to this. And I know it sounds terrible, but I just don't trust how much they're making us like him because he is a pretty likable character. He's not like naive at all, I don't think. He's very much savvy and worldly in the way that, actually the way that Daryl and Carol are. So I hope that they don't mess that part up. But I just am
Well,
not.
what would be more upsetting to you, for him to die in a way that, like, is a storytelling kind of driving a moment for Carol, although she's had enough people die in her life that I don't know how much more that would do for her, or
Yeah.
for him to stick around and like be a loving, doting father-in-law to Justina and for Roberto to be there for them.
I don't know. I think that's just not a possibility because we don't see happy endings in this show, and I think you've
Yeah.
got to that's part of the drama and the conflict. I do think that he's I don't know. I think he's an interesting enough character. I love his art house movie idea and the fact that he is this like he's been very affected by all of this, but he hasn't lost his humanity, and I think that's a little bit of the point. And
Hmm.
that's what drew Carol to Ezekiel. There's a lot of Ezekiel going on here. Not quite as diluted necessarily, but there is that like thought that you can't if you lose some of these things, then what's the point of really surviving? And so even though he's in an imperfect situation, I think he's still trying to continue some of the things that maybe make life worth living. So I think it'd be upsetting to me if he it wouldn't be upsetting to me if he dies in a I don't want to say dies in a good way. I just don't want to see him die in a stupid way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
that's
I
fair.
don't I want to see this person who has survived this long do the thing that he needs to do, but I don't want it to be dumb. And that's the one like thing that I just dislike is that when you see people that have survived this long and making unforced errors. That's the part that I just get so annoyed by, including all the noise that Daryl and Roberto are making down in the water. It's like you all know how this works. Like you wouldn't have your backs. Like maybe like show me that you're expecting the things to happen. Show me the things that you have learned in terms of like early warning systems or whatever you're going to do.
Hmm.
This is just second like this is not this is just your instinct at this point. So
Yeah.
I guess when they're setting this up in this way with Carol, I'm just like, just please let it not be a stupid death. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking, overthinking it. It's
The
true.
beach unfolded somewhat similarly to that London street too, where they walked in. It's a waste. It's a junkyard of boats. They don't see any zombies, but they're all in there apparently. And they just kind of walk past them all. So it does feel like they didn't. They're starting to get surprised by zombies in this season when it doesn't feel like uh, that should be still happening.
Agree. Agree.
Anyway, it's still an interesting show. I find it fascinating that there are people who really don't enjoy this show at all. So I'm not sure what their numbers are like. I think in the Wikipedia it's getting like 250,000 viewers per episode. That's not terrible. I don't know what AMC needs to see for this whole franchise to keep going, but
Yeah. Um, I like so again, I think this was setting up a few different things. I'm interested to see what happens. I definitely have some curiosity about what's going on with the Alcazar, and I wonder if we're going to get to see that. I hope so, even though I suspect it's quite unsavory, but um, I don't know. I'm enjoying this. I just am a little worried based on our prior experiences with other spin-offs in this season about where it's going. So maybe my fears are unfounded. We did not see any deaths, which was surprising to me in this one, but I
yeah, I was kind of expecting the Alcazars to go more
yeah,
wild.
I
But
thought they
instead they
would
kind of
be.
just took their ball and went home, you know?
Yeah, I was a little surprised that they didn't exact some kind of vengeance other than threats. So
Yeah.
maybe that's to come. But and
Because
based on
they never found the smoking gun, so they don't really know who to blame. But yeah, like the Guillermo is like, hell, there was that drunk guy yelling at me yesterday and that American woman who had too many opinions. So he is kind of flailing around to find something to blame, but I guess he doesn't feel like he has enough to really exact vengeance on the town. So he just is like, I'm gonna leave early, party's over, and I'm taking Justina.
yep.
And that's that. Anybody who's watching this should let us know what they think. Are you enjoying this first 3 episode arc of the show? Uh, Give us a holler. We are on email at reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. And you can find our episodes online at reanimated.podbean.com. And I will say adios.
Bye bye. Thanks for listening.